This isn't fiction. This happened. A creeping fog, a silent city, thousands dying in the dark, and no one stopped it. It came slowly, no alarm, no announcement, just a hush falling over London, like a heavy gray blanket. At first, it was ordinary. Londoners had seen fog before. Some even wore it like a badge of honor. Fog was an old companion, but this one was different. It didn't lift. It deepened. And when it started to kill, it didn't roar. It whispered. The first morning was easy to ignore. A little thicker than usual, sure. Smelled a little bit like sulfur and coal dust, but this was London. Everyone expected their lungs to work a little harder in the winter. Cold had always been part of the season's deal. Down a narrow row of homes in East London, young Ellie, no more than 8, walked to school with her mum. Her hand was warm in her mother's. Her other hand dragged a stuffed baby rabbit by the ear. She said the air tasted like smoke and old pennies. Her mum told her to keep her scarf up. It would pass. Ellie named the fog Mr. Snore. Across the borough, George, an iron worker and father of 3, stood at a street corner, lungs already aching. He'd left their underheated flat behind, where the windows sweated and the damp clung to everything. This cold, though, it felt different. Heavier, sharper, like it meant something. His wife had warned him to stay home. His asthma had been flaring for days. But the rent was due, and men like George didn't skip work for weather. A few streets away, in a modest house, with ticking radiators and heavy curtains, Nora and Bernard, a retired couple who had survived both world wars, sat by a window they could no longer see through. The street lamp just outside had vanished. They chuckled. "This is like the old blackout days," Nora said. Bernard grunted with half a grin. Only Jerry had better manners. He'd felt a tightness in his chest all night. Inside their home, where the cold seemed to nest in the corners, Ellie's school closed. Not because of any announcement, but instead because no one showed up. The teachers never arrived. She stayed inside, watching the windows turn white, then gray, then darker still. She saw her neighbor's dog lay on the sidewalk across the street all day. She thought maybe Ruffles was just tired. Back at the factory, George worked the whole day. By late afternoon, 2 of his co-workers had collapsed. No one talked much about it. They just worked a little slower. George quietly gave thanks he wasn't the one who'd collapsed. Yet. The others had gone down hard. He paced himself, his lungs lagging behind the rest of him. Meanwhile, in their quiet neighborhood, Nora sent Bernard out for milk. He bundled up, put a scarf over his mouth, and then walked 10 feet from their front door before turning back. "I can't find the pavement," he said. "Either the road's gone, or I have." Across London, hospitals were filling, not with injuries, but with breathless patients, gasping, wheezing, unable to speak. Doctors weren't sure what they were seeing. A new flu? Maybe. An infection? In their narrow upstairs flat, Ellie's mother had a fever. Her lips were pale. Ellie made toast, while an opaque Mr. Snore, the name she had given the ever-thickening fog, kept pressing against the windows. Ruffles, the dog across the street, hadn't moved. She wondered aloud if ghosts breathed smoke too. Across town, George didn't go to work. He couldn't. His chest burned. His baby son had started to cough too. George sat on the edge of a tub and ran hot water, hoping the steam might help. At their little home, Bernard wouldn't eat. Nora made tea and opened a can of peaches, the syrup clinging slow as treacle in the cold. "We survived rationing and powdered eggs," she muttered. Then with a dry glance at her husband, "Buck up, you old coot. We faced down worse fog and colder tea." London was frozen in a silent kind of chaos. Buses ran only if someone walked ahead with a flashlight. Police used ropes to guide foot patrols. Ambulances couldn't find homes. The fog was still winning. At her window, Ellie pressed her hand to the glass. The world was gone. Across town, the silence inside George's cold flat had felt heavier than the air outside. Slumped into the couch in their home, Bernard looked at her, not afraid, just tired, and softly said, "It's almost over." It wasn't a promise, it was a thanks, love, and the truth. She didn't answer, but he hadn't expected her to. With darkness layered on darkness, Nora still sat and listened to Bernard breathing in his sleep. Ragged and shallow. She didn't sleep. She didn't dare. That morning, light, dim but real, pushed through the London gray blanket of fog. It was lifting. In her upstairs room, Ellie opened the curtains. Mr. Snore had finally gone. Ruffles was gone too. Must be off patrolling the neighborhood, she thought. Her mother, too tired to sit up, smiled weakly. "We'll go out soon," she said. In the still air of his living room, George stirred on the couch. The baby was asleep, curled against him, warm and quiet. The air smelled cleaner, less like boiled chimney. His breath came slow, but steadier than before. Maybe, just maybe, he'd wake up tomorrow, too. In their little house, she didn't cry. She just sat with the tea and the silence. Bernard didn't wake up. These people, fiction. But the death, the silence, the air that killed, all real. Between December 5th and 9th, 1952, a thick, yellow fog smothered London. At least 4,000 people died during those 5 days. In the weeks that followed, another 8,000 succumbed to respiratory illness. The cause? A perfect storm of cold weather, high pressure, and low-grade coal, creating a chemical haze of sulfur dioxide, soot, and acid. The fog didn't just block vision, it blocked lungs. No one warned them. No one understood what was happening. Not until it was too late. It wasn't until 1956, 4 years later, that Parliament passed the Clean Air Act. Disasters don't always explode onto the scene. Some creep, some scream, some arrive dressed in routine, and some wear fog like a mask. Everyone, every community will face disaster at some point. Maybe not a killer fog, but something unexpected, overwhelming and real. The kind that can knock you down or sneak up quietly and leave you wondering what just happened. So, here's an ounce. The worst disasters aren't always loud or even visible, but they are inevitable. Still, that doesn't mean we're powerless. Preparation doesn't just mean food and flashlights. It means awareness, relationships, and resilience. Even in the darkest fog, there's hope, especially if we're willing to look out for each other. And that's it. An ounce submitted for your consideration.